going to present some of the basic tools for BNI Online 2.0. We will present some of the features that we think can help your chapters and the members' businesses. And then we want there to be some robust dialogue and a good exchange of ideas amongst you so that you can hear from each other and ask questions that your chapters are asking or things that you want to know about yourself for your own business. Because we don't want to just have technology for technology's sake. I think you would agree with that, right, Zach? We want to have it so that we can increase our members' business, because that's our mission. We want you guys to be able to help each other generate more referrals, get more people into chapters so they can generate more referrals, and so on. That's our goal today. And so we're going to just take the filter of BNI Online 2.0, how you can use this one app, this one tool to help the chapters grow. We are also hoping and well aware that it may be true that other ways of growing your chapters may come up as well, just growth in general, because not that we are trying to line anyone's pockets or it's an ignoble desire for us to grow our chapters. We do know, it is the fastest, most effective way for our members to get more money for their business is to have more referral partners. So that just makes sense. We also know that healthy organisms grow. If you are a parent or a gardener or a pet owner, you know that when all of the conditions and the nutrients are where they should be and things are healthy, they are going to grow. This is true of individuals. It's true of organizations. And so as we are talking about this, how you can grow, sometimes you may get some resistance from chapters that say, why are you pushing me to grow? Why is BNI always making us invite people? And maybe, as Gina Harold says, maybe not you, but people that I've heard of that are saying these kinds of things. One of the responses I think that can help defuse all of that is by saying, we want you to have the healthiest chapter possible. Will you allow me to share some things that will make your chapter healthy? And I can't imagine there's a chapter anywhere, even the crustiest regions we have, where they would say, I do not want to be healthy. I do not want to thrive. I want to stay mediocre, or I want to be in an anemic chapter that just keeps getting smaller. So we are going to come at this from a position of growth, yes, because that's what we know BNI wants our chapters to do. I also want to underscore that a little bit and remind us that the reason our chapters are going to grow is because we're helping them with healthy practices. So worst case scenario, if we are talking through this stuff and you think, or you're working on it and you think my chapters are just not going to get this, then let's take away the specifics of the technology. We can get to that later, put a pin in it for another time, but take some of the principles like making specific asks of the week. Yes, we want you to put them in the app so that we can download them and everyone can share those and help invite people and generate referrals. But at the very least, let's help our members have specific weekly presentations, because we know that's good for chapters in any environment. So whether it's technology or not, I hope that as we start this, you'll see that there are a lot of things that can help us grow. And I think I forgot to record this. So I'm going to see.
Nope, I turned the recording back on. You're good to go.
I'm so good, because I could not remember what I just said. And as it was coming out, I knew it was gold. I wanted to capture it.
The gold has been captured. We're collecting it for sure.
All right. And now so is my arrogance. It's all been recorded. All right. So many of you know who I am because I'm the ubiquitous Jenni Butz. Do you also know who Zach Roberts is? Zach, do you want to say who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. My name is Zach Roberts. I work here on the product team for the global support team, right, to support all of you guys. And I am a product analyst. That's a very broad term for the lots of things that I do, but primarily I work with a lot of you guys to help roll out new initiatives to our both to you guys as chapter success coaches, to managing directors, but also to our members, right? We're constantly working on improving, creating, and innovating our meetings. And for this one, it's online and hybrid, but often we do some for in person, et cetera. And I'm sort of the middleman to help out with bringing a lot of our new ideas and creations to you guys, and to sort of increase the value of your membership and to help you guys, as we're talking about today, grow.
Yes. And you I on this screen, I'm looking at the slide that I'm showing. You will not find two friendlier people in BNI than Zach
absolutely.
And me. That's, even if you didn't know us, just by looking at those pictures, you would say these are some fun-loving people, and you would be right.
Absolutely.
All right, we don't want to just keep yakking. I'm sure the rest of you are like, what the heck? Let's get the show on the road. Let's do. Zach, why don't you kind of give a 30,000 foot level overview to the main features that we're going to talk about today with 2.0?
Absolutely. So quick, high level overviews we're talking about. There's lots of features in the application, but the ones we'll talk about primarily today are going to be the Ask of the Week feature and what that is, how to use it, why to use it, etc. And then the other one is going to be the one-to-one scheduling. And so we've created a quick window and an email template for all of our members with that one that we'll share through it. I think that was a little bit too high, so I'm going to go through these again quickly. So the Ask of the Week is actually a way that we record the sort of 60-second presentation in your chapter. And then that can be saved in the application itself, not only this current week's, but the previous 3 as well. So 4 in total. And it does that not only for you, but for every single other member in your chapter that's using the application. And then you can download and export an Excel file with all of this information in it that can be shared with the chapter. Right. So that's the better 3,000 level for that one. And then for the one-to-one scheduling, we've created an opportunity where you can quickly search and find your members in your chapter that you want to meet with. And then we've created a default email template that goes along with that. So we've made the process of starting and completing a one-to-one request between you and your fellow members much quicker. And we can also take a lot of the distractions out of the chapter. So that's what that one is sort of centristic and focused on.
Zach, is this link that I just put into the chat, is that the link that they would go to, or is there an updated link for them to download?
That's the link you go to download. That's the one that we've included in all of the materials so far. And exactly right. And Patricia, I see your hand, but I just want to quickly add, we want this to be very non-formal. So if you guys have like any questions or whatever, please raise your hand. Feel free to interrupt and we'll answer any questions as they come. I'd rather solve them immediately than wait till the end and have to sort of revert back to the original ideas behind it or have them forgotten. So
that's the reason why I said, because I didn't want to get ahead, because I'm not want to sit here and go and stop you. But one-to-one scheduling within the app, right? Will that connect with, because you know how I have my Calendly, will it connect directly to my calendar for Google?
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll go through it when we actually show it off, but realistically with the one-to-one scheduling, the only thing in the template that you have to change is a day and a time. So for people that use like Calendly, or if you use like, Microsoft has a scheduling assistant, stuff like that. If you use any of those, you can paste those links in that spot instead, and then send that out. So then whoever's receiving that invite from you can just click on that link and start the process from there. So rather than, typing in like, hey, can you meet on Thursday at 2, you just send your Calendly link instead, and that should work just fine.
And also, just so you know, this first several slides, probably the first 4 or 5 slides that we're going to go to, are an education moment that you can use in chapters.
Absolutely.
We just thought we would use this as the template. Then we can do either some demonstrations or whatever. And then we want to get to some practical applications. How can I use the information in here? But first of all, we'll say, do you know how to use the app? So if you haven't downloaded it yet, I would encourage you to use the link that's in there to download and install it, so that as we're looking at things, you can also play around. The best way for you to be a resource to chapters is for you to understand how it works, at least for yourself. And then beyond that, you can ask Zach anything in the world. All right, so let's go through this education moment. These are the main features of it. There are other features, but these are the main ones we're going to show you. Is as if you were going into a chapter to talk about 2.0. This is an education moment you could use that is fewer than 5 minutes. You could also just use one slide, or just use it, send it, or whatever you want to do with it. But this is how the Ask of the Week works. And you'll notice if you have tried to log into the app that you can't log into the meeting. There's a little box that says join meeting, and it's grayed out until you enter in something called the Ask of the Week. And that's what Zach just described. And so once that's in there, the app will compile all of the asks of the week for the members who logged in using the app. And then you can either look up one person's ask from any time in the last 4 weeks, or you can download a report for everyone's asks for the last 4 weeks, which is why it's important that we try to get as many people as possible in a chapter using the app, because if someone logs in with Zoom, they can't have their ask recorded and downloaded into the spreadsheet. We're just going to have to hope that you remember. But if I'm seeing, if Ron enters the meeting with the app, and if Brenda enters the meeting with the app, and Zach does, but the rest of you don't, when I download this report of everyone's asks, I'll know what those 3 people want. And so if I have a referral for them, or if I want to invite someone they're trying to meet, that's great for them, but there's not a way for me to include everybody else. Now, some chapters I know are doing this. Some have very ambitious secretary treasurers, and they keep track during the online or in-person meetings. They put it in a spreadsheet and they send it out to everyone afterwards. That is fantastic. And if that person wants to keep doing that, more power to them. I would never do that for my chapter if I were in that position, because that's a lot to ask somebody. This will do that instead, because it already compiles it. Anyone can download it. Or if someone just wants to download it from the app and send it out to the people who maybe didn't use it, that's also a possibility, but not everybody's will be in there. Is there anything you would add to that in a different angle, Zach?
I don't think so. I mean, the overall, ask of the week section itself is definitely one that I think is probably the most underutilized when it comes to chapters. We'll talk about it here, and the fact that you can get to this ask report and download it and send it out. I think that's probably the biggest struggle that chapters will probably face, is the fact that somebody has to send it out afterwards. But when you compare chapters that members just log in, get to the meeting and then go forward, and compared to those where somebody downloads it and sends it out every week after the meeting, whether it's the president, vice president, we know that emails going back and forth between all the members all the time. And so those ones that share this around as well, that actually email it out every week, have way more referrals and much more growth in their chapter, because not only are they using the application effectively, but they're also distributing the information, which is probably another key point as well.
Right. And this is to me, this is the feature that has the most potential to growth.
Absolutely.
Because once you have this report, and we'll go through here, and actually, and maybe in the next slide, and I could just skip right to that. There are ways to use this information specifically, primarily to download this if you know you're going to a networking event. Then this is another one that has 2 levels of resource for you. You can be a resource to say, hey, everybody, use this app. And when you're going to networking events, take it with you. So I know, oh, Amy wanted to meet an HR person. The HR person from such and such hospital is here. I should see if they want to come to our chapter, or I should give them Amy's card, or whatever. But also, as you're talking about this, you can kind of have an underneath a subliminal message to say, you all are still going out and networking, aren't you? Because so many of our chapters, when they get members into the chapter, they go, well, these 16 people is my network. And then they stop going to other events. And then it's so much harder to invite and to pass referrals. We have to be networkers. And so just like our launchers got to launch, and they're always doing new chapters, we are networkers. Networkers got to network. And so we can be having a subtle reminder to the members of the chapters we support. Keep looking for those opportunities. Go to the barbecue, go to the Chamber of Commerce, go to that after hours, go to your PTA meeting, and look at all of them through the filter of a networking event, and take this list with you, so that when you're listening to people who say, oh, we've got to get out of this house, it's just too small, we keep having babies, or whatever, then you can say, I've got a really great realtor I would love to introduce you to. Can I do that? Boom, referral, because you've got this. I'm looking for people who have outgrown their house, and you've helped your members be very specific in their asks. You also can encourage the people in your chapters to print this copy every week and just have it on their desk where they're making phone calls, where they're Zooming with clients, where they're filling in their calendar. Because if it's right here and something triggers, I can go, oh, that's right. 2 weeks ago, I remember Chris asked to meet somebody at this place. Yeah. I'm going to see if I can make that introduction. And I'm right where all the magic happens at my desk. You also can use this proactively to look at the list and go, I'm going to post every day this week for somebody on this list. And I'm going to say, Ron is looking for juniors in high school on the wrestling team, because they're going to look for a wrestling scholarship. And if they can't have it, they need a backup financial plan or whatever. I don't even know if that's what you do, Ron. I'm remembering from one lunch with you. But you're going to be as specific as possible so that you can say, hey, moms of high school kids, Do you have any wrestlers? I know somebody you have to meet. Here's a link to Ron Foisey's business. He is the best guy to help you plan your college for your high school athletes or whatever. And then you can be proactive with Yelp and Google reviews and sharing on social media, sharing stuff on LinkedIn, but you've got the list right here. So you have a target audience for them. And because you have access to more than one chapter as a coach, you can do this for multiple chapters and you look like a rock star. And that's not a bad thing as kind of a side effect. And then also, as you're looking at that, searching for people who might come to a meeting. This is a great way to use the Ask report for invitation lists. I've got a person you should meet. I know where they are at lunch every Wednesday. Do you want to come to this meeting? I would love for you to meet them. And is that the last thing? Oh, one more. Again, this is going to be good no matter if they use the app or not, helping our members fine tune those weekly presentations. And if you'll notice, dare I go back to a previous slide without causing a seizure? If you look at the very, some of the asks, I tweaked some of these, Zach, and added some new ones.
Please.
If you look at what Vimala is looking for, she's an advertising agency, ostensibly. And October 18th of last year, she wants to meet the owners of the Plum Delicious restaurant in Metropolis, USA. Yes, I made that up. We do actually in our town have a restaurant called Plum Delicious. And so if you were to look at that one, for example, and you're talking to a client or something who says, well, I just had dinner at Plum Delicious. And it was really weird at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. They were not busy. You could say, I know somebody who'd like to meet the owners or the manager of that restaurant. Do you happen to know who that is? Because she could help them with that. She has a really great advertising plan for restaurants. Could you help me meet somebody? And then you're just working that list as specifically as you can. And we're helping our members be specific. Which business do you want to meet? Which person do you want to meet? Whose hand do you need to shake to move your business in the direction that you want to move it? So these ask reports can be super helpful if they're using them. It's way less helpful to say, I'm looking for anybody with teeth because I'm a dentist. Stop it. Stop it with that. All right, I'm going to pause. Maybe I shouldn't have had so much coffee. Who has a question, or Zach, do you want to add something?
No, nothing to add. I think you're right. So very much the points to emphasize here is that this report is very underutilized in chapters. Whether it's 2 people using it or 40, right? So the more that you can leverage this and send it around and have members sort of take a peek at it, it's massively impactful. I think another one that you can think about, and you sort of touched on this with this, search for contacts of people, but let's say I'm having a one-to-one with Jenni and she's in my chapter or even in my power team, right? And so if I go to look, I can then take a look at Jenni's asks over those last 4 weeks and see if I can preemptively resolve those for her. And then when we're having our one-to-one, I can say, the first thing I don't have to ask you is what can I do to help you, right? Or what are you looking for? Instead, I can say, hey, I saw your asks. I already have a solution for one of these, right? I know you're looking for Plum Delicious, the owner of Plum Delicious, right? And I actually went there 2 weeks ago and met the owner. He was walking around the store when I was cooking, or when I was there eating, right? And so I took his name and phone number down. And I'd love to introduce you, or something to that effect, right? So if you're proactive about this and you take this report, everything you do within the chapter can really be benefited, because it supplies such a wealth of information, not only about yourself, but to your fellow chapter members.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea, Zach. I love that. You should be a member. You'd be really good. Start a business.
Got to get a business first, I think.
I know. Let's do that. I bet yes, Amy.
So when we present this, we're going to have every member of that chapter download the BNI, right? Everyone just downloads it. And then we're going to present this, and everybody has is going to get to use this, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So is this this presentation, is this something that we can then copy and use as our presentation?
Yeah. Yep. It's
Absolutely.
if you go into Teams, in the CSC team, there is a channel for chapter resources.
Okay.
And in that chapter resources team is a folder called BNI Online 2.0. And we put everything you would ever want in there, including this education moment called BNI Online 2.0 can help you grow.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
There's multiple education moments in there. There's other materials that you can use. If you have maybe just a couple people that's a little less tech savvy, the installation guides are all listed there. You name it, we've created it, Amy, and it's all in that folder. And I'll follow up too. I posted my email in the chat here. If you're looking for materials that aren't in there, something that you really think would help your chapter drive success, please reach out to me and we will happily create that for you and give it back to you, very quickly, so that you can also deliver that information as well. So whatever it is that you guys think would help champion success, we're more than happy to deliver.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's move forward. I like that you guys are putting stuff in the chat. Also, feel free to just unmute and ask us. Let's talk about how we do the one-to-ones. Can you tell how that operates, Zach?
Absolutely. So one-to-ones, as we sort of touched on before, the left picture here is the actual template of what that shows out to be. So using the right side, right, you click on the member card when you're in the application. And again, you can do this both during the meeting time and outside. So everything you can do during the meeting, it's also available to you outside of the meeting. So you don't have to be logged in, you just have to use the application for it, right? But you navigate to the member cards and then you find whichever member you're looking for. In this case, we're looking for a Robert Gorecki. And so, maybe Rob said something in his one-to-one maybe Rob said something in his weekly presentation or he had the feature presentation this week and it really resonated with me and I want to reach out to him, right? So I go to the member card, I search for Rob, and then under the one-to-one request in Rob's profile in his little member card here, right? I click on the little mailer symbol. It looks like a little email, right? And it automatically in my default email client on my computer. So whether that's Outlook or if you're using Gmail, doesn't matter, whichever one set as your default, it will automatically open an email that's pre-written and pre-informed on this left side here. You can see it. It's a little bit small to read, but basically it says, hey, I want to reach out and have a one-to-one with you. It pre-fills in the subject line for you as well as the name. And as we were talking about this earlier, I can't remember who specifically asked for it, but there's a line there in the middle that says insert date and time here. And basically you can say, I want to meet with you next week on Thursday at 2:00. Does that work for you? Or if you have something like a Calendly link, or if the Microsoft Meeting Assistant or whatever it is that you use, you can just post those links there as well. And then when you hit send, they can just click on the link and schedule with you, right? So that's the sort of generic of how this works. And every member will have this option where you can click on that and send it to them. Obviously, other than yourself, you can't email yourself a one-to-one request. We've blocked it for that, but you can do it for everybody else in your chapter. And then the button to the right of that, the little double squares, is actually it's a copy function. So if you don't want to send it through email, or maybe you don't have a default client that you use on your computer, what that does is it copies the text in the body of the email. And so you can paste that somewhere else, whether, let's say your chapter uses an app like WhatsApp or something like that you have on your computer, or you want to Facebook message it to somebody. It doesn't really matter what your choice is. You can paste that, the body of the email there, again, change the day and the time, and go ahead and send that out to get the process started. Right. And we'll talk about this shortly, but some of the benefits of this, maybe you want to, unless you have something to add here, Jenny, we could probably move on to the next slide and talk about the cool things with it.
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit of this is I'm not going to have to open Outlook and say, oh, I also got 10 more emails while I was waiting on here, and I get distracted by that. I just do the thing and go back to the meeting.
Absolutely. Amy, before we jump in, I'll let you ask your question.
So while you were doing that, I went in and opened the BNI 2.0 for my own chapter. I see my 3 executive leaders, but
Absolutely.
I don't know. But how did you get to that you just, where is that?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so
good. That's good.
In the top right corner, Amy, there should be a button that says menu. You can click on that and then click on members. So that's how you access it outside of the meeting.
Okay.
But if you're in the meeting, there's also the bar on the bottom that says enter your ask before, and then because join meeting is grayed out, right? You have to enter something into that and then hit join, and it'll send you right into your meeting.
Got it.
And then from there, you have additional buttons.
Never have thought of that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Dwight?
Zach, I've gone in and clicked on a one-to-one request. It turned red. But
yes, sir.
Is there something I need to set it up? Because normally my Outlook is where I have that, and I don't see anything pop up. Is there any kind of setup that I need to do to make it point at my Outlook?
Yeah, you might have to select Outlook as your default. Just because you open it and use it doesn't necessarily mean your computer recognizes it as your default, Dwight. If you'll put your email or something in the chat or direct message it to me, I can reach out to you directly on how to solve that, okay?
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Sorry, so Jenny, do you want to touch on these or you want me to jump into them?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Just talking about one-to-ones gives an opportunity then for us to, talk about one-to-ones, because so many times we're not using them as referral strategy sessions. They're what a lot of regions refer to affectionately as fun-to-ones. Let's just get together and have coffee. Or if you look at somebody's Palms report and they've had 96 one-to-ones and you're like, oh, I get it. You talk to everybody at the chapter barbecue. Yeah, that's not a one-to-one, because the one-to-ones are supposed to help us generate referrals. So we get an added opportunity. If you're going to schedule a one-to-one with somebody, talk about 2.0, and then also say the reason why this is an important thing and why we encourage you to do them is because if you have your gains profile and you set up this one-to-one, now send your gains exchange ahead of time. And have you updated your goals? Do you have physical goals? Do you have chapter goals? Do you have business goals? Let's talk about those in our one-to-ones. Have you belonged to a new network? Did you just join a gym and now you're meeting a bunch of people in your Pilates class or whatever? And so we can have this opportunity to talk about the very purpose of a one-to-one. Also, by doing this, we're in and out to do that one-to-one scheduling. I send the email. I'm going to let you look at the Calendly link later, but I don't have to think about it. Now I can stay engaged in the meeting. I can go back to what I was doing because I don't have to remember, oh yeah, I told Alyssa that I was good. I have to remember email Alyssa. Well, I can't remember. The older I get, the less I remember. So instead of filling up more Post-its on my desk, and I already have piles of them, I could just get this thing done and have somebody get back to me with a good time. And then also it's going to remind us that every week we should be having a regular cadence of one-to-ones. And if somebody triggers something in their weekly or feature presentation, now I have a purpose to have a one-to-one with that person. And we're not just sitting down and going, so how's business? Ugh, kill me. Let's actually have a purpose and a structure to our one-to-ones. Get your calendar out. Who are you going to meet with this week? Can I introduce you to some people? Who did you meet with last week? Let's make these referral strategy sessions so that we are actually generating referrals, making introductions. I think the best one-to-ones are you've got your phone out, your laptop. Here are some people I'm going to meet with. Do you want to meet them? Let me do an email introduction to you right now. But getting those on the calendar is the first step so that they are, and because this is only on our computer right now, there's not a tablet or a phone option. That means we have to be sitting somewhere while we're using the app, and we have to be doing business while we're doing it. So it really helps us remember what our BNI membership is about. Those are the things I would say.
Absolutely. And I'll add one more too, similar to what you said too, under the staying engaged piece, right? And you said that you can send this out quickly and then go back to focusing on your meeting. Not only does this usually help you, but it also helps those fellow members in your chapter. I'm sure all of you guys have seen multiple times where somebody will say something, let's say Jenny says something interesting that it sparks for me to have a one-to-one with her. And so then I'll come in here in the Zoom chat and I'll say, hey, Jenny, I loved what you said in your feature presentation. Let's have a one-to-one next week on Thursday. And then Jenny responds with, can't do Thursday next week, but I could do Wednesday at 1, right? And then it goes back and forth. And not only is that distracting for those two members, it's also distracting to everybody else because that little bubble is going to pop up and the chats are going to keep flowing. And not only, if this is happening with one member, it's probably happening with multiple. And so the whole chat just gets bogged down with these like one-to-one scheduling between two people, distractions in the meeting. And so by creating this opportunity through email, we've actually removed that distraction from the Zoom chat and made it where, you guys can email each other back and forth, outside of the meeting, on your own sort of calendars and on your own time. So to take away distractions, during the meeting, not only for you, but for everybody else as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I thought we could do a little activity if you have the app open. If you look at these questions and you hear about this activity and you say, that's stupid, Jenny, that's fine. We have more slides. But I thought just to make sure you understand how the app works, if you have it open, because Amy, I know you do, and maybe a couple of you also do, that you could, let's test this with a chapter that you're supporting. So if you log into a chapter you're supporting, and you're saying, I need to get in touch with that VP because they've got a brand new application that's been sitting there on ice for like 3 weeks. What's going on with that? It just says needs approval. Where is this membership committee? What are they doing? I'm going to call the VP because this has gone on long enough. A fast way to find the phone number of the chapter VP is to use the app. And you don't have to go all through BNI Connect. Now, hopefully you probably have that phone number somewhere because you are the coach for the chapter. But what if you're new, or what if you can't find that, or you're somewhere else? Log into the app and you could find the phone number. So this is a little scavenger hunt for you to have some of these things. Can you put in the chat the phone number of the VP in any chapter? Don't put the name, because GDPR says we can't connect identity with people's contact information. But if you just put a random phone number in there. Also, I'd love for you to try opening up the app. And although it says send Zach or me a request for a one-to-one, now I'm realizing we're not in those chapters, so you can't.
You can just change the emails out. Here, well, I'll put my email back in here and you guys can all send me one.
Yeah. Oh,
But
so
if
then you pull up a member, but then you can just change the email.
Yeah, just change
right?
the email out. It'll go to me instead.
Okay, do me. Do me too.
Great.
Yeah, Alexis, you can only use the app for your own chapter or chapters you support.
Yeah.
Since it gives you access to BNI Connect information, we don't all have access to everybody's information in Connect. You only can see the chapters you support. So those are the only chapters you can log into. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just confused because you guys are saying go into your app and then like try to talk to us, but you're not in my chapter. I think
Yeah. That's what we were saying. You'd have to click on a random member to do and then you'd have to take their email out and put ours in. But yeah, so that one was a bit of a misclick there. I apologize on that. But
sorry.
Well,
Jenny and I are in the same
to,
testing chapter, so we didn't think it through. But yeah.
No, it's like I typed in my ask so I could join the meeting, but then it opened up another Zoom.
Right.
Correct. That Zoom window, Alexis, would be your chapter meeting.
Oh.
So it brings you straight into your chapter meeting.
I think I'm just confused because I was in 2 Zooms at once and I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh my God.
I had that look on your face, Alexis, for months. So don't feel bad. It takes a while. I know. And it's funny, Alyssa, because here I am the one like telling you all about it. And I would do that. Zach would say, well, if you do this tonight, I'd go, what are you talking about? For months. Months.
Realistically, at the base level, to get to your chapter meeting, you don't have to find the Zoom link or anything like that anymore, right? You open the application, you log in, type in your ask of the week, and then it puts you in your chapter meeting for you. If you're a chapter success coach and you're trying to go to one of those ones that you represent, right? So let's say I'm in charge of 3 chapters. I'm trying to go to my second one, not my home chapter, but one that I represent and I work with. I can do the same thing. If I know they meet on 9:30 at Tuesday, I don't have to go track down their Zoom link anymore. I can just click on that chapter. I can log in, find that chapter, click on them, and then type in an ask that we can hit join. And I'd be joining that chapter's meeting as well. So it pulls the link from Connect. So whichever meeting you're trying to join, you guys know what time and day they meet, right? This just saves you one extra step as well, having to track down the Zoom meeting or emailing the president saying, hey, will you send me that over to me? You already have that now. It's already provided to you. You can access all of your chapter meetings that way as well. So at the end of the day, it brings you to your meeting. You don't even have to look up the Zoom link or anything like that anymore.
So I open the link and I'm looking at my own home chapter. And now I want to look at one of the chapters that I'm coaching. Do I have to log all the way out now and come all the way back in?
Yeah, you got to close it and then pick a new one.
So close it out.
Yeah.
And
correct.
then start
and
again.
then reopen it.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And then it will
All
let
right.
you pick your chapter again. Yep.
Okay.
Because it was designed for members who only have 1 chapter.
Right.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
I'm so special.
Okay, so I'm just these can just serve as examples of things you can find. And then, for example, if you were to see how many CEUs the chapter had, or how many one-to-ones the realtor has done, this can help inform the presentation that you may give for your education moment or the feature presentation when you do a chapter visit. To say, wow, this chapter for the last 4 weeks has had 0 visitors. Let me talk about how to invite people using this app, or how to invite people by going to networking events or the 4 best places to look for people to connect with your chapter members. So the kind of information you can find would be these, to send people a one-to-one request, to find how much has the chapter done in the last 4 weeks, because maybe you visited 6 weeks ago and you said, by the time I come next time, I'm hoping everybody has a minimum of 12 CEUs because I just gave you 100 podcasts to listen to. Then right before your next visit, you could look it up and go, they don't have a single CEU more than they did last time. Nobody's listening. So let me change my message, or let me reach out to the VP or the president before I come. It can help inform what you bring to the chapter as support to help them meet their goals, because you can find all of those things in one place. That was the thought behind this. But I can see it was misguided. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so here are some other things that you might want to consider. And then we can either do some little breakout rooms, and maybe you can do smaller groups and talk to each other, or we can just unmute and have the conversation here. But the way we want to apply the growth principles to how we're using the app could be in some of these questions, like, what do you do with the information you're finding? This is the same question for the app that I hope you're asking yourself when you look at the Palms report or the Power of One every month. What am I going to do with all this information? We've got spreadsheets upon spreadsheets in BNI, and it's super helpful information. And you as a coach have access to things that can really help educate and motivate the chapter. But what are you going to do with the data that you find? Is it going to be for recognition? Will you help challenge them? Will you help them in their growth, their chapter success meeting or whatever? And then how can maybe you and the chapters use the features for inviting, and how can you use it to generate referrals? That's how we grow. We're going to educate people, and we are going to help them invite the right people, make those connections, and generate referrals. And that's how we get more people in the room or on the call, in this case, because they're an online or hybrid chapter. And if you've got a hybrid chapter using this, I think a smart thing might be to consider how you use those online meetings where they're using the app to then fuel an in-person event, maybe the first of the month, to say, we did all this stuff, we've downloaded the ask for the last 3 weeks, we've looked at all this stuff, who are you going to invite to our in-person meeting? And maybe every month they have a staff day, or every month they have a visitor event. Every month is a growth focus, because you're using the app on those online meetings to gear toward doing something in person. Did something just go right or wrong, Alyssa? Because that face was very dramatic.
It was just really smart. I'm like literally trying to conceptualize how to use this. And full disclosure, when I got put into this role, I literally was like, okay, I have to create like a dashboard because there's way too much information here. And then I got given access to a dashboard, and I was like, oh, okay, that exists. I don't have to go like learn how to code that. Cool.
Right.
And then now there's this, and immediately I was like, oh, well, for my own chapter, like that, I weren't in person. I'm wild, and I sit there and meticulously take notes every week and track it in a spreadsheet. And I'm like, I don't have to do any of that anymore. I can just do this.
Well,
and then
that brings up a.
That's so
Yeah.
smart. Like,
Okay, that's what that face was.
all of it and being like, okay, guys, we're being intentional, we're being targeted.
Yeah.
You don't have to guess at who to invite. Here's your list. Go get them.
Yeah. And there's got to be a way. We've had a lot of people ask, why can't we use this for in-person chapters? And that's a question that I have for Zach, because I know when I pull up mine, I have access to like all the Seattle chapters and all of the California Gold Country chapters. Even if they're in person, those show up for me. So is this information still available for in-person chapters, but they just can't use it during their meetings?
I mean, yes, technically it's available for everybody. Like it's turned on. If an in-person chapter is somehow a person in an in-person chapter somehow got this to download, and they could open it up and see all of the things. The struggles that we face, right, is that in in-person meetings, we tell you to put all your technology away and to focus on the meeting. And so by providing something like this to an in-person meeting, we're then going back on the sort of that logic and that mindset that we have of being focused in the meeting. And we're telling you to open your computer and do things on it, right? So we're working through ways of how we might be able to make that a case for in-person chapters. But right now the focus is still very heavily on in-person. I'm sorry, on online and hybrid chapters.
Yeah, because we're still not getting the adoption we'd like on those chapters, let alone just spread it out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it totally makes sense. I can see both of like the group I'm in plus the one that I'm coaching for, and it's just like, oh well, like if I can digitize this in a easier way, like I've been looking for that for a while. So it's like, okay,
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, because let's work smarter, not harder, right?
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
'cause I'll be honest, right? When I heard that there was a new app, I was like, oh boy, because there's a lot of pushback already when you have people
Mhm.
coming in. They're just like, okay, so we've got Connect, we've got Business Builder, we have this, there's the branding website, like there's so many pieces spread out, and like I'm trying as an educator to be like, okay, it's actually quite simple and it's all in this one neat little package.
Yeah.
So I think the more, at first I was like, I don't know, this is kind of conflicting with a lot of what we're teaching them to use Connect for. And so, but I think seeing it as this is your chapter dashboard as opposed to the national network.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
way to think of it. Your chapter dashboard. Yeah.
Yeah, and Alyssa and Petria, we are working on sort of behind the scenes and other projects, working on ways that we can unify this and make it one spot or at least one login where you can then go click on one of the other things to take you to those portals. Because we understand as an organization that we have lots of different websites and different things and you name it, right? All the stuff is everywhere. So we are working on ways to simplify that process for not only you guys as coaches, but also for our members as well. They'll have sort of one spot. But that's a completely different subject for a completely different day. But it is something we're looking at.
That's a big one, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thomas, I see your hands up.
Yeah. You said in the chat that this isn't good for phones or iPads or anything like that. And I think that's maybe the reason why people aren't downloading it, because you have to physically sit at a desk. I do commercial and residential inspections, so I'll be sitting down on a roof doing a hybrid meeting when I'm in my meetings and stuff. So the desktop app isn't going to really help me sitting on 12 stories in the air on top of a roof or in my car or something like that. So is it getting updated to be able to be used on that stuff, or is it this strictly sitting at a desk to use? And I think that's why people aren't downloading it or using it.
Yeah, great question, Thomas. And that's one of the things that we're sort of evaluating on our side, because there's sort of two sides to the coin, right? And it's really a tricky question that we've gone a ton of back and forth on. So in some cases, we think that there is a lot of impact and a lot of benefit that would come from opening it up to phones, iPads, you name it, all of that other options to be supportive, where everyone can use it. But then we also have the sort of flip side conversation of chapter meetings are supposed to be you sitting down and fully connected and not distracted from your chapter meeting for that time limit, right? And so you're dedicating that time to everybody, and so you're supposed to be there sort of present and active in your chapter meeting. And so there are people that use their phone because they're out on a job site or whatever, as you're mentioning. But there's also people that use it when they're driving down the road, or they're out on a walk on their lunch break or whatever it is. And those people aren't fully focused and fully dedicated to their chapter meeting. And we also have to look at it in terms of on if you have a mobile phone or something like that, if we make that make this application available to those, that we can then be adding distractions to people that are doing it in situations where they shouldn't be, like driving down the road. We don't want to be the reason why, you're trying to have a one-to-one with somebody else in a car accident or something to that effect either.
Yeah. I think the reason we don't have it yet is because the technology hasn't gotten there yet. But as we're delaying, Zach and I are talking to people who are like, as many times as we log into meetings and see people on treadmills, people driving, I'm thinking, how on earth are you paying it? How would you, if you're doing any of those other things, how would you use your tiny phone, if you're over 40 especially, to send a one-to-one request while you're listening to a meeting on the phone and doing something else. It actually is kind of helpful, like, oh, the internet's out, I guess our family has to talk to each other, you know, so it's kind of ended up being a nice ancillary benefit to have the delay. But I don't think the product team has stopped working on making it available for tablets and phones.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I get that, but you know, in the 21st century where we're all going, like today I'm on my meeting, I'm listening, I'm fully engaged, I'm at the park with my kids. So it's
Right.
one of those things of, you know, we got to balance it, but at the same time, it's like with our such mobile,
I don't see a sex in your
our
contacts.
mobile stuff,
Oh,
it's you know,
click
should be on the,
work.
oh, what's going on here? Should be on the able to access on phone and stuff like that. Maybe not enable certain things, but at the same time, I can see the resistance of wanting to download this and use this because, you know, I'm a hybrid chapter, and about it sometimes the mortgage guy or the realtor are at an appointment and then sit in their car for the meeting when
Right.
they're done with their appointment.
Right.
So,
Yep. For sure, that's the world we live in. And so I'm sure when the technology exists, that will be made available. It's not now. That's we haven't delayed it for a reason, to make people pay attention. But since there is a delay, we may as well use the opportunity to talk to people about how important it is to really be focusing on what members are asking for in the meantime. Chris, maybe you have an answer for all this, do you?
No, but I do have a very significant question, and it is off the subject a little bit, but I use it all the time. Okay, I'm a big fan of it.
Good.
Now, the problem is in 2 of my chapters, the leadership is not displaying correctly. All right, they just switched leadership. So I'm looking at my 1 chapter, the president has changed, the vice president changed, and the secretary has changed. And it has not changed on BNI Online, even though it's changed in the system.
Oh, it is changed in Connect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zach?
Yeah, unfortunately I can't solve that for you right now, Chris. But I will direct that. Petra, you unmuted. Did you have the same experience? Is that what you're nodding about? Okay, cool. If you guys will send me, even in the chat or direct message, whatever, or email the name of your chapter, because I have to give examples when we talk about why things aren't working correctly. So if you could send me the name of it, I can do the research and send it over to our tech team, because it should be something that's automatically updated consistently. I know we run through this sort of at least weekly, where it updates the leadership teams. So if you guys are not getting on that, we'll have to determine why that is.
So glad we had this talk.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to throw anything off, but
No.
it
No, you're
really
good. You're
bugs
good.
me
This is
because
what
I'm
this is
sitting
for.
here and I'm telling them to send in a ticket,
Perfect. I've got it.
and
You just did.
nothing's happening. So
You just sent in a ticket to Zach Roberts.
And I will work on it very rapidly. I have copied those names down, and I'll get them looked at for you,
And
Chris.
now nothing bad can happen because Zach is in charge.
I wouldn't say that. I will get it solved as quickly as I can, though. I can promise you that. So, great.
Okay. I have no more specific slides for this, except if we want to have a takeaway, and then just maybe you still have questions. But I also wonder if it might be helpful for everybody in the last 10 minutes or so. Would it be helpful if Zach shared his screen and opened up the app and you kind of clicked around and you could see what it looks like if you haven't done it yet? Or would you rather have 10 minutes back, or do you have other questions? What's the best use?
I'm actually pretty confident and comfortable with it, but it doesn't hurt to take a look at it. I poked
Absolutely.
around those reports and stuff earlier. You know, I thought it was pretty snazzy, but I'll tell you what, getting my chapter and my chapters to buy into it, that's a little different, because the original version of it they had such a bad experience with it.
Yeah.
And so they're gun shy of it, you know?
Yeah, understood. And Chris, your region was one that we really like very, very, very early adopters. And if it makes you feel any better while I'm pulling this up, we can sort of chat through this, but we're very quickly approaching the point where we're not going to be considered a beta anymore, right? So we'll call this a live version. And we've made a lot of changes and improvements to the application itself. Like the last time it crashed was, I think it was last year, 2022. So it's been up and available to all of our members, at least, you know, for the 7 months that we've had for this year, right? So there's a lot of different things that we've improved, the stability, the performance, the look, all of it's improved.
I'll be honest, I never had a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with the original one. I don't have a problem with this one.
Right.
And I'm not clear what the problem was with everybody else. There was something where they couldn't download it, or when they downloaded it, it didn't work right, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Antarctica, that's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, so go ahead.
So before coming into today, I thought this would replace Zoom, where it would launch the meeting on this BNI app and etc. So now I understand you would need two separate places. Now, in a nutshell, what are we telling is the main benefits to having this app downloaded that's different from just having the BNI Connect in your phone? I feel like it might be a little repetitive. What are the pluses to going on this platform versus what's already in our phones?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the Connect function is a little different, right? These are two completely different applications. And to be fair, you said if this is, this isn't replacing Zoom, it's sort of an augmentation or improvement upon it. So you get to your chapter meeting very quickly and easily from that purpose. So it's a way for you to access your chapter meeting. So Zoom's not going away. We're still sort of using Zoom for that because it's what people are familiar with. If we came up with our own version of a video conferencing and had you all relearn that, right, that would be another massive chaos amongst the organization, right? But so now that everybody's familiar with Zoom, we didn't want to change that platform. So we're sort of running it off the back of Zoom, right? So we're not getting rid of it, but it is a better way to access your meeting. And ways that you can sell this is, not sell it, ways you can just talk about it amongst your members is that it's designed for simplicity with membership in mind. And so it's all of the features and stuff that we've put in the application. It's there to make being a member of an online and hybrid chapter easier. We're giving you features and stuff like that normal Zoom doesn't have, and that are, I'll call them a challenge to do in Connect, right? So everything that we've put in here, it's designed with sort of simplicity and time saving in mind for your chapters. And then Chris, I know your hand's up, and then we'll sort of run through the app quickly.
Okay. So the president, I'm not clear on how this works at all. So the president starts the meeting. The president has full control of the meeting. They share the screen. They have controls. Are they going through this app to do that, or how do they do that? Because that's one of the problems that we had in our chapter, was that one problem is the president couldn't figure out how to use this app to have control over the meeting.
We can help with
They
that.
didn't follow the directions of figuring out the host.
Well, that's
key.
probably true, but outside of that,
I don't use it yet, but I know that part.
Yeah, so the host key is the key there, Chris. I can show you that here. Once you join.
So what he was trying to do, he was trying to transfer it to me, and he was using that host key, and I couldn't use it because I had no idea what he was doing.
He was he already the host, but he was trying to give it to you, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and he wasn't using 2.0 though.
Right. You don't
Or
need
he wasn't
2.0
using this.
you don't need 2.0 to transfer host. Host is one of those things that you actually require. So like I'm in my chapter meeting, right? This would be my version of chapter meeting. Enter my ask, I hit join, right? Whether you're using 2.0 or not, someone in your chapter should be host. So if they log in organically through the regular Zoom meeting and they stay that way, that person who was the host in the beginning, whose account it's set up under, et cetera, that person's going to maintain host. If they join in through 2.0, then they'll use the host key to claim it. And so they click on participants and they click on claim host. And then all it is the 6-digit key goes here. You can see right now, it just says Zach Roberts is me, but nobody's considered the host. as soon as I enter my host key, and I hit claim host, I am now considered the host, right?
Ooh.
Does that
So
make sense,
you're
Chris?
actually in the system right now.
Yeah,
I am.
yeah. he's
Okay,
in the
hold on
app.
just a second.
And chapters, Zach and I talked about this with somebody yesterday. Chapters can change their host key in
Correct.
case the president is gone and the VP is like, now I got to log into our Zoom account and find the host key. You could change it to something. Again, I never underestimate the power of a Post-it, but if you don't want to put your host key on a Post-it, if you want to make it the month and year that your chapter launched, that
Yeah.
could be, and then everybody would know the host key. You can go
Ah.
into your Zoom account and change the host key.
Okay, so great. I'm in BNI right now. I'm in the system.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't see how to get here where
You
you're
click
at.
on, when you're in the Zoom meeting, you click on participants down here in the bottom.
Participants, okay, I'm
Yeah.
there.
And then it should pull up a little
Oh,
screen
claim host, I see it.
right there in the bottom right. Yeah.
I
And then you
got
enter the host key from there. And now that
Well,
I'm a
that's
host,
good
if
to
there,
know.
yeah, if somebody else was in my meeting with me too, I can assign them. Now that I am host, I have control over everything, right? So I can assign co-hosts. I can give that host power to somebody else. It doesn't really matter. And you know, they can pass it back and forth just like regular chapter meetings do. This is just a very quick way to be able to gain and capture the abilities to have host while you're in the meeting.
Well,
And Chris,
that's
another
nice
thing
to
I'll tell
know.
you too, what we're actively working on is trying to find a way to make this even simpler, where leadership teams or whoever it is the president may be, while they're hitting join meeting, that they can enter in their login username and credentials for their chapter, and it automatically assigns them host when they join, rather than having to use a host key. So it's something we're trying to phase out, but for now, that's the best solution.
Well, thank you, because this was a mystery, so I appreciate it.
I'm glad we solved. If I can help one person do one thing to help their chapters, I will do it every time. So
Detective Roberts solves all the clues.
But we'll quickly walk through the app, right? So you can see that at the base level, this is my chapter meeting. And so if I log in, I enter my ask, I hit join. If I come here and I just full screen my Zoom meeting and I sit in my Zoom meeting, at the bare minimum, right? That's really all that members need to do, because their ask is then captured and then they can be focused on their chapter meeting without having any distractions. If they want to use the other features, then they can use the ones that are here, right? Like all of these are the same features. We have the buttons across the bottom, but it's all up here in the menu as well, right? And in this menu, you can access everything you can see here. And this menu is available to you even before you enter your ask so that we can join your chapter meeting. So you can do it all from this menu, regardless of whether you're in your meeting or not, right? So we'll click on the member card here, and this will be something that will show that's familiar once it loads. So this is what we have some screenshots of, right? I'll even go to the exact same person. So we'll find Rob Gurecki. We were talking about him earlier, right? About how I send one-to-one requests. So I just open the menu, I clicked on Rob, and then I have my one-to-one request right here. You can see in a little bit easier and larger scale. This is the seat that he has in the chapter. This is the company we work for. Here's his email. Here's his phone number. And then here's how long he's been a member for, right? If he entered an ask, it would show up here. For example, I'll show you my profile, which has an ask in it, right, which is bni.com. So these are hyperlinked as well. So if you put a website, somebody can come in here and click it, and it'll automatically open that website for them, which is another sort of benefit that we've given online only specifics. But I'll go back to Rob, and we can see the one-to-one request, right? So I click on this little emblem in my Outlook. It's going to open up an email to Rob. Sorry, it keeps opening everything on my primary monitor, and I'm dragging it over here to my secondary. But you can see I've sent an email to Rob. Let me make it white to help.
Thank you. I got to go. I've got an appointment.
Yeah, no worries. But you can see here, right? So I've got my email to Rob. All I have to do is come in here and change my day and time and then hit send, right? Problem solved. So that's that feature sort of talked through very quickly. And then the other one that we talked about is the ask report, right? And then from there, you click on menu in the top corner, ask report, and then it will pop up. You come down here and click download, and that's where you get the full ask report for your chapter over the last 4 weeks. So that's a very quick walkthrough, right? And then you have the chapter stats and the my stats that you guys can click on here. And it shows the chapter stats over the last 4 weeks.
Okay.
It's not magic, but it's pretty cool.
Cool.
I think this will help I think it'll help the chapter members, because it's one of my biggest hurdles is getting everybody to really work together, not that 80-20 rule, but everybody working together where it's going to be easier, more efficient and effective, because it's time. Time is the biggest commodity, and that's what people keep pushing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And as if you're having those well, not if, I know you are, because I know you're having those conversations about next year's leadership teams. It may be, this doesn't have to be a thing like we have to get this up and running right now, but wouldn't it be nice to give yourself the runway of the next couple of months to say, let's make it a goal to have the October meetings start using as many people as possible with BNI Online 2.0. Now, it would really behoove you if you could get at least one meeting in July where 60% of the people logged on, because then you'd be entered in the drawing for $100 gift card. But if it can't happen in July, give yourself August and September as well. Because sometimes I think if we give ourselves a little bit more room to make incremental steps, if you've already had your July visit, you still have an August and September visit to talk to the incoming presidents, and you don't have to feel rushed and you don't have to make them feel rushed. Just like, if we can get this going by October, wouldn't that be a cool thing? And maybe talk to the incoming president and say, is this something you and I could work on over the summer or whatever? I get that people take off a week from work to go on vacation, or whole businesses shut down. Sometimes whole chapters. We have chapters that didn't meet at all last week, and if their meeting was on Thursday because it was the 4th of July. I get it. People just want to take some time off, but we don't want to take the whole summer off for moving forward. So we don't want to let our current leaders coast, because then they're going to hand over something that might be in shambles by the end of September. And then you have to just, trudge uphill the first couple weeks of October. Well, it's practically Thanksgiving. Let's take a break for the holidays. And here it is January. And the chapter doesn't have a growth event planned. They don't have any kind of goals in mind. And you've wasted all of the 4th quarter. So I think we can make some strides now to keep the momentum. So September just becomes a smooth running and changing the baton to the new leadership. And then this could be one of the things you implement. Yeah, Alexis.
Something you just said, Jenny, totally triggered me. Something that would be really cool if you could do it. But well, number one, we have to get our chapters to actually put their goals in the goals thing in Connect. But when you use that, I forget because I don't do it all the time and I need to do it more, but there's that report you can pull where you can see like how I'm doing. It's like budget versus actual, like here's my goal, here how we're actually doing. If you could make it somehow in the app, when they're in the app, that they click a button like, how am I helping my chapter achieve our goals? Because each goal can be broken down by person. Like if the chapter wants 20 visitors a month and there's 20 members, obviously that's one person, but they could see like, oh, you've met your goal to help your chapter achieve the chapter goal, or you've done nothing to help your chapter achieve their goal.
Yeah.
But that would be cool.
Yeah, it would be a really great one. Zach, did you write that down?
I did. Absolutely.
We could also institute accountability partners, and the partners would be in there and they hold each other accountable.
Ooh.
And we're doing an experiment with that in Brooklyn, and we've only done it for 3 weeks, and the change is profound.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's part of the act. We've made it a part of the actual agenda. And there is actually every week, there are 2 partners that have to talk about that come up and say, Jenny and I both decided that we're going to work on bringing in more visitors and doing more CEUs. And so this week, Jenny and I went through and looked for this, and then we both sat down and listened to the podcast together, and it shows, and it holds each other. I have to tell you, it's been incredibly successful.
Oh, I like that.
We
That's
did
awesome.
the podcast that Dr. Eisen did about accountability partners, and then put it in place, and it will help to reach individual and chapter goals. I've seen it in 3 weeks. It's amazing.
Wow, I'm going to listen to that one. Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question real fast. The gains exchange, gains profile. That's like that is a pet peeve of mine when people don't have their gains profiles filled out. I have so many members that don't have it, nothing. It's like, that's free marketing. That's how people find you. And I try to explain the importance and the magnitude of what that can do and elevate their, and not to mention added value with BNI. But my question with this was, when you're in this 2.0, the gains exchange, you're just shipping it right out. It's just going right out. If you have it filled out when you hit gains, or no?
We want to make it that way. Right now, you have to attach it yourself, right? I
What
showed
are
you the
you waiting
template.
for, Zach?
We're there's so many there's so many things we want to include in this. It's just honestly, it's man hours, making sure that we can add the things in. But that's a huge one. That's big on our list.
I think that
I
would
can't tell you
actually
when
help.
it'll happen, but I can tell you that over time it will definitely happen. Where the gains, if you have your gains exchange filled out and connect, that it'll automatically pull in and send it with your one-to-one.
That would be ideal, and it'll also get people to put a fire under them to get that gains profile filled out. Because when a chapter doesn't have everybody's stuff filled out, it just looks so sparse, and it doesn't look, it makes it give that where the chapter's not really gelled, and they really are phenomenal chapters.
Yeah.
So.
Patricia.
I've spoken with my, sorry if I can I interject something, Jenny, on
Please,
that?
Joe, go ahead. Yeah.
I've talked to my chapter presidents and said, hey, why don't we take time during a meeting, maybe instead of someone's profile, for everyone to go in during the meeting and update gains? Because, right, everybody forgets and we're all well-intentioned, right? But it's like, okay, we've paused the meeting, go in and do it. Yes, you do have time. You have time right now.
Yeah.
You need 3 minutes right now. So we're giving it to you.
Mhm.
It's just a thought. I mean, we hate to break the stride of meetings, but sometimes, just a thought that was working with some of my chapters. Can you take 3 minutes or 5 minutes and have everybody go in, and then all of a sudden, gee, it got done. So
one of, and Joseph, to your point, one of the ways to get your gain sheet done, Patricia, and everyone in your chapter, is when you have an accountability partner and you have to get up next week, let's say you and Alexis, one of the things you talk about is, we've reviewed each other's gains profile and have determined this, that. And if you can't say that as an accountability partner, that triggers getting it done. But the other thing, as a chapter success coach, that I have found, when we bring in new members and you and I do the orientation and we go through BNI Connect, one of the things that we show them on, I think it's the second page in the profile, is how to do the gains and how to do the 60-second, that part of the, is it page 2 or wherever that is in BNI Connect. And at least the new members that you and I can control in the beginning to get them done when we go through the BNI Connect part of BNI update my profile. And then for old members, what we have found has been most successful is your accountability partner, and you do it together, and it works.
I just want to add here, that's so brilliant, Amy. And part of that, we still do the passport here. And so if you're doing the passport, you have to do the gains report. So if you're doing the passport fully, then you should end up with a complete BNI Connect profile at the end.
Yeah.
So that's part of it, but I'm very new into success coaching for the region. But one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is I'm struggling to promote members because they're not getting this piece filled out. And they just launched the beta of the, it's like a referral page, like a separate website. I don't know what it's called, but they literally just launched beta for our area. And it's going to be really challenging to use because so many members have no picture, no email, nothing listed. And so I'm like going in to review members to give them these testimonials. And I'm like, this isn't going to go anywhere because you have nothing here. So I'm giving a gem. I'm going to give you guys a gem of an idea that I've brainstormed. Okay. For the region, I get to help coordinate events. Our region's very tiny. Like you can drive through my entire state in an hour. But I want to host an event.
Must be Rhode Island.
I am in Rhode Island. So tiny. But I want to host an event. I want to tap the photographers within our region that are our members, okay, and have a social media event. Like where basically we'll have a handful of photographers set up at a location. You'll pre-sign up to go get your new headshot for BNI Connect, and then we'll have coaches there to help you make sure your profile is up to snuff. And then maybe we could even have our social media experts that are members within our network, right? So now we're promoting members, getting leads and new business opportunities, getting our members up to date with their headshots, getting them up to date with their social media, and offering them education, which is a thing we've heard over and over and over. They want more hands-on, face-to-face education. So it's literally going to get all of it. And I just, here you go. All regions, take it. Do it.
Do it. Yes, that's a great idea. I love it.
It rocks.
I'm going to go now.
Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. I need to eat lunch now. On the West Coast, it's time for lunch.
Have lunch, Jenny. Thank you as always, Zach.